Today we're going to talk about the top 10 features in Madden video game history. Obviously, before we start out, we want to send a rest in peace to John Madden, one of the best coaches of all time, one of the best commentators of all time, and the guy that this video game is named after, and a guy that had a big hand in how the video game was made for many, many years. So to remember him, let's talk about the 10 best features of all time in the video game that he was named after. So for number 1 on the list, we got to go back many years ago to talk about the ambulance, one of the fan favorite features ever in the series history. It was kind of a funny thing and an inside joke among Madden players, because while the ambulance was meant to come onto the field to take away an injured player, it would like run over half of the team in the process. It was just kind of a funny thing, and although it was removed many years ago, it's something that people still remember to this day. You know, when you were playing your buddy back in the day, if you're an older gamer, when that ambulance came on the field, it was kind of a trash talk moment because you made a crazy play and you took one of their players out of the game. But the fact that it would just run over half the team in the process kind of just made it almost funny in a way and made light of the situation that somebody was getting injured in the video game. And then of course it was removed many years ago, and to this day we don't really see anything crazy happen when players get injured, but in the OG days of the first ambulance, that's just something a lot of the older Madden gamers look back on and remember as a funny thing that used to happen in the game. Number 2 on the list is franchise mode. Now this is something that is big in every sports game. It's kind of the staple of every sports game. It's kind of the big mode that made sports gaming really take off, in my opinion, and it's still in every sports game to this day. But Madden was one of the first and one of the best franchise modes ever in its heyday, especially on the PlayStation 2 era of console. You had so many features, there were so many things you could do. It literally felt like you could run your own NFL team, and to this day you still have franchise modes in all these sports games, including Madden. And while a lot of people feel that they have gotten worse over the years, that they've kind of gotten away from what they used to be, the OG franchise modes from 15 to 20 years ago are still so fun that many people play them to this day. Many people boot up their PlayStation 2s to play Madden 04, Madden 05, Madden 06, and Madden 07 because of just how deep the modes were and how much control you had over building a team. It literally felt like you could be the coach, the owner, and the player, and with so many options at your fingertips, it was something that never got old. Number 3 on the list goes along with franchise mode, and that is owner mode specifically, which was a feature that was added in Madden 04. It was kind of a different layer to franchise mode that had never been seen before in video games, where you could literally own the team. Before, you could be the coach, you could be the general manager, and you could be the player, but you could never actually oversee all the other things that came with running a franchise and owning a franchise. You could build new stadiums and relocate teams. You could adjust the ticket prices, the concession prices, the merchandising prices. You could look at the reports of your team and see what they were earning, where they were losing. You could upgrade stadiums. You could do so much stuff with this mode, and I remember being a youngster back in the day and reading in a magazine what they were planning to do with Madden 04 and owner mode, and I remember to this day never being more excited for a video game than when I was reading about owner mode, because at the time something like that just didn't even seem possible. It didn't seem like something could go that deep, and it still exists in the game to this day. And again, a lot of people look back and say, the OG days on the PS2 were a little bit better than they are today, but that is without a doubt one of the best features that ever came to the Madden franchise. Number 4 on the list is the mini camp drills, one of the best things that ever happened to this franchise, something that was removed quite a while ago and has still not made a return, although I do believe it will make a return one day. Now, I think Madden 2003 was the first year that we saw the mini camp added to the game, and what was really cool about this is not only was it big for franchise mode, it was just big as a standalone thing that you could play in the game. You had rookie difficulty, pro, all pro, and all Madden. So you would start on rookie difficulty. There would be a map of the United States where you would travel around doing different drills like the rushing attack or the QB precision passing or the coffin punting drills. They had drills for every position in the game. You would complete them all on rookie, and then you would jump up to pro, all Madden, and you would just go around the United States playing different teams at their facilities, and you could have high scores and you would try to beat your previous high scores. You could even play some of these drills online and see who could get the highest score. And then for franchise mode, you would use this in the off season to try to focus train a few of your players and boost up some of their attributes. Without a doubt, one of the most fun things in the game when you could say that you played it online, offline, or in your franchise mode. It was something that affected the whole game. It was fun in many different ways, and it's something something that still needs to be brought back to the game to this day, in my opinion. Number 5 on the list is the hit stick, and this might arguably be the best thing on the entire list. It's the one thing on the list that has transcended the Madden game and football video gaming in general. Even people that haven't really played Madden much over the years, they know what the hit stick is. They know what that means when you say it. In real life, when a player gets hit really badly, people will say he got hit stick. It's just one of those things that has kind of become a pop culture thing. It's outside of Madden, and it was introduced in Madden 2005 when Ray Lewis was on the cover, and a big focus of that game was the defensive side of the ball, where you can now put your defenders into different assignments and adjust them differently, and you can also hit stick people high or low, cause more fumbles, and even injure people sometimes. It was a big thing that they added to the game, and a big reason that Madden 05 was so defensive focused was because the year before that, when Michael Vick was on the cover, Michael Vick broke Madden. We had never seen anything like Michael Vick in the Madden NFL game before, and so the next year they had to put a huge focus on giving the defense some more power and adjustments, because you literally couldn't stop Michael Vick in Madden 04, and even in Madden 05, Michael Vick was still arguably unstoppable, but at least the defense had more things at their disposal, and the hit stick was the focal point of those new defensive changes, and it's still in the game to this day. It's still a fun thing to this day. Nobody wants to wrap up tackle in Madden. Nobody wants to do a conservative tackle. You want to hit stick people. You want to lay them out. You want to cause fumbles. It's how everybody wants to tackle on every single play, and there was a time where you could not do this. I've played some of the old games recently, and it's just a habit to go for the hit stick, even in the games where you can't actually hit stick people, because it's become such a staple of the game and how you play on an every down basis. It's one of the craziest things that was ever added to the game, and it'll probably never go away. Number 6 on the list is the OG Superstar mode, one of the most innovative and best things ever added to the Madden franchise. This was introduced in Madden 2006. It was the big selling point of the game that year, and I believe it was removed after Madden 12. Now, we've still had career modes in the game, and currently to this day we have Face of the Franchise, which not too many people seem big on. Some people like it, but not anything that lives up to what the original Superstar mode was. For the time, this was kind of a groundbreaking thing where you had so much control over your player, all the way down to who your parents were. You could select the DNA of your player based on who your parents would be, and it would kind of set you up for, what type of position and what type of player you would be in the league. You could go through all of the pre-draft stuff, and then you get drafted, and then you have to kind of work your way up to being a superstar. And you could also even start in the NCAA games if you wanted to take that route. You could start in the NCAA games, kind of start in high school, play through college, and then port your player over to Madden 06, and then build your superstar. This was a mode that was hours of fun, never got old. It was better each year after that until it was eventually removed from the game, and to this day people are begging it to return, and they're saying, can we just kind of do away with Face of the Franchise and just bring something more like the OG Superstar mode back? I believe one day it will return, especially with the NCAA games set to return in 2023, but for now we still look back on the old games because of modes like this. Number 7 on the list is Create a Team. Now, this is something else that was common with sports games. I don't know if Madden did it first. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I know that Madden's Create a Team at one point or another on the PS2 was probably the best Create a Team that you could get in a game. I think maybe Madden 04 is when it really got crazy, when they added owner mode and things like that, because not only could you create the team from scratch, any color, you had tons and tons and tons of logos to choose from. You had different uniform options, but you could also create the stadiums, and there were tons of different ways you could lay out your stadium. And this was something that it's another one of those things that just never got old, because you could always create a new team. You could create 10 teams, 20 teams, didn't matter, however many that you wanted to. Even in Madden 05, you could go as far as creating a fan, which was a separate thing, but kind of went along with this, because your created fan would be in the stadium of your created team, in the created stadium, in the city that you wanted to be in, and then you could take this into franchise mode, of course, and you could create your own story. And that's why Create a Team was so big. Not only was the customization for the time so on point, but it was just the fact that you could build your own story. Now, this was another thing that was removed after Madden 12, never returned to the game. A lot of people thought maybe it's because the NFL didn't want it in the game, but from what we know, the NFL does have some restrictions on this, but not restrictions to the point where it can't be in the game at all. Supposedly they don't want actual NFL teams being altered, but the actual creation of new teams doesn't really seem to be a big problem. So I do think it's something that should and will return one day, but the fact that it's been gone for so long is really disappointing because other sports games, even EA games, still have this, and Madden is kind of the one that's lacking behind, and this is one of the biggest and most fan favorite features of all time in the series. Number 8 on the list is a little controversial, but I'm going with the Vision Cone. Now, while a lot of people did not like this feature, a lot of people absolutely loved it and still ask for it back to this day. And I think at the time, this was one of the most innovative things and different things that any sports game tried to do, because if you think about it from a realistic standpoint, QBs can't see the whole field. Unless, I mean, going by, old Madden games when they had the feature, apparently guys like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady could see damn near the whole field. They could see like 3/4 of it. So while it may have been a little unrealistic for the top end players, I think for the middle to lower tier players, it made a lot of sense because you can't see the whole field at once. You kind of have to lock onto your target when you throw it to him. I mean, I know Patrick Mahomes sometimes does the no-look pass, but that's a rare occurrence. That's not an every down type of thing. And I think this was actually very realistic and made the game a little bit tougher to play. It was a little bit more of a skill gap. Now, it might not have been the most practical thing at all times. I think it's something they could have made a little bit better over the years, but it did have its stay in the game for a few short years. And I think while it was there, it was a pretty successful feature and a feature that a lot of people loved, even though there were a lot of people that didn't care for it. But it's just the fact that it was something so different, so groundbreaking, and they actually took a chance on something that did work, I would say overall. It is something that has to make the list because while a lot of people didn't like it, it's still talked about to this day. It's still one of the legendary things that the game series did. Number 9 on the list is the Tony Bruno Show, another fan favorite back from the Madden 05 and Madden 06 days. This lived inside of franchise mode, and even nowadays we have certain things that try to maybe rival this. We have the news stories in franchise. Face of the Franchise has like a podcast to some extent in the story, but nothing has ever come close to living up to the Tony Bruno Show, where it was actual recorded lines and more times than not kind of went along with what was happening in your franchise league. It actually made the depth and immersion of the game just on another level because you actually would listen to this every week and you would listen to hear if they were talking about your team or maybe some of the other teams in the league. And it's one of those things that I think would be great to bring back for modern day franchise mode because you could probably do so much more with it now that we have games that are just able to do so much more on systems that are able to do so much more. You could have a lot more content within a Tony Bruno type show, and I think it would be a welcome return to the series. And number 10 on the list is going to be, without a doubt, the most controversial one. So put your pitchforks away, just hear me out, because when you hear what I'm going to say at first, you might just turn off the video depending who you are. But it's Madden Ultimate Team, and let me tell you why. Now, in its inception, a lot of people actually really enjoyed this mode because it's objectively a cool idea, building your ultimate team. People love team building. That is one of the main reasons people play sports games. That's the main reason people play franchise, is team building. It's just a different type of team building. Now, in the early days, microtransactions, to my knowledge, wasn't as big of a thing in the mode. I don't even know if they were in the mode at all in the first few years. They may have been, I'm not 100% sure, but it wasn't the focal point of the mode. Microtransactions in general were not the focal point of video games back in Madden 10 and Madden 11 days. But the idea of, hey, you can grind and slow build your perfect ultimate team consisting of your favorite current players and some of your favorite legend players is an objectively cool idea if you're a football fan. Why wouldn't you want Randy Moss and Deion Sanders on the same team with Drew Brees, right? It's fun. It's taking all of your favorite players and putting them on a team. Or even what people do nowadays is they make theme teams. So they might take a 49ers team that has Steve Young, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and Jerry Rice, and maybe they're a Devontae Adams fan too. Maybe they just like his game, so they put him on the team as well. Objectively, it's a fun, cool thing to do. Along the way, where people started to have a bad taste in their mouth towards the mode was obviously microtransactions, but to this day, there's plenty of people that love and play the mode who don't spend a dime on the mode, and while it definitely is a lot harder to compete against other players if you do not spend money, a lot of people actually do enjoy the grind of building a team. I'm one of those people. I love playing challenges. I love building my team up. I don't like to go in this game and spend a lot of money. I don't really think it's worth it, but I enjoy building up the team and making my LSU team or making my Saints team, or sometimes just making an all-rookie team. Those things are objectively fun about Madden. It's just that the microtransactions have kind of become such a focal point of the mode that it's turned a lot of people away, but there's no denying the impact it's had on Madden and on sports gaming in general. And while some people would say it's had a negative impact overall, kind of like the Vision Cone in a way, while a lot of people just don't like it at all, there are a lot of people that love the mode, and it's the only mode they play, and it's the only reason they even get the game. So while polarizing, I think if so many people love and play the mode, it's something that has to be on the list, and there's no doubt that it is one of the biggest things that's ever happened to the game, even if there are maybe some bad side effects of it. That's all for today. Let me know your list below. Did I leave anything out that you really loved about the series? Let me know below. Check out some of these other videos right here on the screen, and I will see you guys next time.